some simple swipes on your own. So, welcome everyone. Susan is here. Hey, Susan. Monique is here. Pat has joined us. Carla is here. Awesome. Nancy has joined us. Hey, Nancy. So, that's great. So, I'm excited to demonstrate these three different they're all fairly similar variations of the Simple Bloom Swipe. I'll be using a couple different cell activator colors. I've got kind of a wide range of other paints mixed up and ready to go. So it should be a whole lot of fun. As we go along, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've got my new speaker set up, or a new microphone, I mean. So it worked pretty good last night for our art show. Congratulations to all our art show winners. So if there's any issues with the sound, let me know, and I'll try to see what I can do. I've got another microphone on the way, similar to my last one. It's a lavalier mic. This one is a little bit different, but hopefully the sound will be much more improved, I hope. So Kathy has joined us. Hey, Kathy. And we have got Facebook user. And let's see here. Could this be Robert, perhaps? I'm going to guess maybe Robert. We'll see. So, all right. And Susan is saying, I'm blurry. Uh-oh, that's no good. But that could be just the connection, perhaps. So hopefully that'll clear up. I'll switch the camera here in a second, and we take a look at some colors. Hopefully the blurriness will improve, as long as the paintings are in focus. I don't think I'm as important. So anyway, cool. So all right, cool. So everyone's saying, Carla says, I'm looking clear. Thank you, Carla. And Kathy says, sound and look good on Facebook. Awesome. Thanks, Kathy. And fantastic. All right, cool. So let's get started. And I'm going to flip the camera over. I've got I wanted to show you something. I've got my little splash guard set up here. You can see it. I've got my back one. This one over here is down for the moment. I'll lift that one up in a second, but it messes with the camera so badly. So I think I'm going to make a new one with maybe a clear panel. That would solve all my problems, maybe. And but I wanted to show you this, as long as you can kind of see through my barriers here. I've got one that I haven't shown you before. It's a little device I created that when I get ready to spin my paintings, I just lift this up and spin away, and then it doesn't splash on me, it splashes on this little guard, which is kind of convenient. So, and when I'm not using it, it kind of just swings down out of the way. So I just thought I'd show you that. It's a fancy little gadget. So anyway, let's get started. And Kathy has joined us. Hey, Kathy. So all right, so I'm going to flip the camera over here, and we're going to get going. So here I am. I've got my spinner set up, and these are small, well, smaller. They're 9x12 canvases. I wanted to do three kind of smaller ones instead of three larger ones. It's these swipes, when you're starting them out, getting in the swing of them, working on a little smaller canvas can be helpful. So I have three little smaller ones here. So I'm going to flip my back splash guard thing up, get that set. So that's the canvas. I'll move this off for a second. I have my push pins in there, and I have this set up a little differently for this smaller size. So my push pins are kind of over here, and then it just straddles my board. But when I spin it, it'll stay put on there. So it's kind of a cool little way to work your spinner. But let's take a look at our first set of colors. And this one is going to be, I'm going to start out with kind of a traditional, kind of a bloom setup. So I'm going to have a base coat, which is going to be a very light base coat. It's kind of a white, basically, basically a white base coat. There's a tiny bit of purple in here, I think, so it's very light red violet color. But that'll be the base coat. And then I'm going to use some colorful paints here. Got some colors. I haven't used some bright colors in a while. And I'm going to pour a puddle in the center of our base coat. And maybe I'll do some drizzling and a little bit of pouring. Then I'll do kind of one swipe in the center with our cell activator, which I'm going to use black for this one. And then I'm going to spin it out and we'll see what we get. So it's kind of this is kind of a hybrid, kind of simple bloom slash swipe we're going to try out, and we'll see how it works. But again, all these paints are just our regular easy formula, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint in all of these. And then the cell activator is that special recipe, which is 2 parts water, 1 part of our Liquitex acrylic inks, and then 3 parts Amsterdam paint. And in this case, I'm going to be using black cell activator. So I've got I just mixed this one up. It's a black cell activator, and I'll put it on the back of my knife. We'll do kind of one swipe in the center, spin it out, and see what we get. I'm excited to give this one a shot. So let's get going. And first step is to pour on our base coat. So, and again, I like to do a flood coat with this one. This one I might, since we're spinning this out, I might not take it all the way over the edges. I'm probably just going to expand the puddle out because it'll all get covered once we spin. So, and it'll also keep our base coat a little bit thicker. So, and I might also pour a little extra right in the center before we make our puddle. And I'm going to put a little bit more on here right now. So this one, let's see, it's looking pretty good. I'm just, again, not worried about going over the edges. Whoops, I went over a little bit there, but that's okay. Not too worried about that right now, but I'm now recentering the paint somewhat. So we have a nice kind of puddle to work with. And there we go. That looks pretty good. So it's fairly thick in there. Not super thick, but thicker than I normally would work with. But I don't think I need to pour any extra in. So I think we're good to go. And again, our consistency is basically our regular consistency, a small mound with the paints. I'll show you the consistency maybe in a little bit. And so here we go. So let's choose our colors. I've got like a teal here. It's kind of a turquoise color. I've got this kind of orangish gold color, which is kind of pretty. I've got some pyrrole red, which is pretty intense. I've got kind of a lilac purple. It's a kind of a blend of different things. And then I've got this champagne color here, which is gold and silver mixed together. So let's start out with maybe a little bit of this kind of lilac. So I'm just going to pour just kind of in the center. And you could use I might use a couple sticks here, like to drizzle some paints as well. Something like that. I want to be careful with this red because it's really can really kind of take over. And then I love this orange color. So I'll use some of this. I might put a little more of this turquoise kind of inside here. And I don't want to build this up too thick because when I swipe, I want the swipe to kind of hit all these colors. So I don't want to build up these big thick layers of paint. So I'm trying to keep them kind of thin. And I think I'll end with some of this gold here. There we go. Maybe a little bit of this orange right on top. I don't know. And then I definitely want a little bit of this teal. So I'll put a little of that in there too. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. We'll see what happens. I don't know. But so I like that. Now let's give it a swipe with our black. And so I've got I need a stick for that. Here we go. Here's my black. So I'm going to put some black on the back of my large spoon and give it a good kind of one swipe through. Hopefully that'll be enough. So, and this is just one way, of course, you can handle this, approach this simple bloom swipe. So let's see, I'm just evening out that paint. It looks pretty good to me. And let's give it a shot. I'm going to turn my spinner a little bit as I swipe, just to get kind of a nice even swipe coming through here. Something like that. Pull it away. That turned out pretty good. And let's see, I always like to wipe my knife off. It's very pretty, all those colors. So there we go. That looks pretty nice. We've got a nice blend of colors. So next up, let's go ahead and spin away and see what we get. So I'm just going to move my knives here. I'm going to lift up my little barrier and let's spin. Let's see. Okay, let's slow her down. I got my little break here. Oh, I like that. Very cool. We can move the paint a little bit if we wanted to by tilting it. I'm not going to tilt too much. Let's just keep going. Be nice if we could expand over a lot of the canvas, but we'll see what happens. So here we go. I'm going to go the other way. Just let that go for a bit, and then I'll slow it down and see what we got. Wow. That looks pretty cool. I like how the cells get larger and then they get smaller on the perimeter of the canvas. It's looking pretty good. Well, let's keep going. I'm going to go one more time in the clockwise direction. Here we go. I like these cells right here. So let's do it one more time. Okay, let's slow her down. All right. Well, let's see here. I really like that painting. Maybe I'll just leave that. I really like this interesting negative space on the perimeter. It's such an interesting line. It looks kind of like a piece of agate. And we've got cells and cells, all kinds of things happening. I don't love this red, our Pyrrole red right here, left kind of this weird little line. I don't love that little blob. So I'm going to try to do one more spin, I think, to see if I can spin that off, remove it. I would like that. Maybe I'll try to give it a little bit of help. But it's a pretty cool effects there. We've got some multicolored cells happening. I really like this one. So again, the possibilities are now endless, with the color variations and all the things you could try if you incorporate your spinner, which I think is a lot of fun. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a help, hopefully, without wrecking it. I'm going to just take a stick. I'm going to put a little bit of white paint right there. See if I can help carry that little red smear over the edge. So let's do one more swipe or one more twirl, and we'll see what we got. I think we did it. Very cool. Yeah, we got rid of that little red blob. I'm super happy with that. I love these little thin white spidery cells kind of moving into the composition. So, well, I'm pretty pleased with that one. That's a pretty fast technique if you wanted to give that a shot. And this is very similar, I would say, to traditional bloom without using any of the bloom ingredients like the house paint or all of the weird mediums or the expensive Australian Floetrol. And we can get very similar results, which I think is pretty darn cool. So there we go. That is our first one. And I'm going to move this out of the way and maybe clean up a tiny bit, and we'll get into our second demo. But pretty pleased with the way that turned out. So I'll be right back. So I was thinking about it. I don't think we need to clean up. It's just going to get messy again. So I'm just gonna leave it. And but we do need to put away a couple of these paints here. I'm going to flip on the other camera, and I'll show you the consistency that I'm working with our paint. So let me flip the camera over here. And I just saw this from Monique. She said that she can't get Australian Floetrol anymore. I guess they banned it over in Europe because of some of the ingredients in there. Yeah, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of weird stuff that they put in those products, but that's kind of a bummer. But hopefully you could get some of the Liquitex ink. I don't think there's much, in there that's toxic or weird. So you could hopefully try this technique out. But thanks for the info, Monique. That's kind of unfortunate. Let's see here. Okay. And Carla wants to know the consistency. So I'll show it to you here. Here's the teal. This is probably a pretty good example. Let me move my camera angle here. It's a little high. So hopefully you can see this all right. So here's the teal. And all the colors are mixed to the same consistency. So it's that small mound. So it kind of forms that little mound and then disappears. This one actually might be a touch thicker than the other ones. Let me show you another one. But anything around here. So this is probably the thickest I would like it to be. But let me show you another one. Let me see. What would be a good one to show? Maybe the red. That's about the same as the teal. What is this one? That's about the same. The purple is about the same. I wonder if you can see the white might be difficult to see. Let's give it a shot Um, that's going to be impossible to see. I know what I'll do. I've got some other. Here's another color. Here, this is about the same. So they're all kind of very similar. This one might be just slightly thinner, but anything close to this. It could be a tiny bit thinner if you wanted it to be. I probably wouldn't go too much thicker than this, but just that small mound, and you're in good shape. So yeah, so it's sometimes I use like a mound on a mound consistency when I'm working with like straight pours or ring pours especially, but yeah, this is kind of the thickness I like. So just that small mound, and then it kind of disappears in the cup. So it's much thicker than like a Dutch pour consistency. This is, I'd say, probably a number 3 on my consistency chart, which is coming soon. I've been meaning to talk about that. I have to re-record a bunch of videos for that because somehow they got corrupted or destroyed in my move. One of my hard drives got, I don't know what happened to it, but it got all messed up in my move. So I have to kind of remake a lot of that stuff, which is kind of a big bummer. But I'm working on it, so that'll be out hopefully within the next couple weeks. Our consistency course, and then I'll have a whole bunch of videos for you to check out with on getting the right consistency. Let me move my camera back up here. Okay. So this next technique we're going to do, I'm going to do a split base coat and just keep the colors very simple on top, and then do 2 different colors of cell activator. So let me move some of these paints out of here. Do I need that? I'll just move this aside. So I've got 2 different colors here. I've got this light, what is it? It's like a very light green color. And then I've got like a dark grayish green color. And then I'm going to use our turquoise on top, and maybe some silver, and maybe some of that champagne color, because I like that a lot. So let's see here. Let me pull these over. We've got some silver. We've got some of that champagne I used before. I'm going to move the white away. And so I'm going to put in these colors here. I'm going to be using these 3 on top of our split base coat. And then I have my black, and I've also got some white cell activator. I'm going to use both of them. And we'll see what we can do with this kind of a pour. So I'm going to do probably the same type of a thing. Not go over all the edges, but I'm going to pour these 2 puddles, move them around a bit, and then we'll put some paints on top. So I don't know what kind of shape I want to make with this split base. I just kind of want an interesting shape, two interesting spaces, basically. I want one to probably be a little larger than the other one. So here's my light color. So again, I'm just trying to cover most of the canvas. I kind of like that interesting shape that's happening. That's pretty good. So the dark is a little bit larger than the lighter side, which I like. That's good. So I'm going to flip back over to the top view so you can kind of see what I'm doing a little bit better. And here we go. So I've got my, it's a lot to keep in track of here. I got two different cell activators and all my colors. So I have to think about how I want to swipe this, because I want my color to kind of be around this divider line. And I want to swipe the light color, the light cell activator into the dark. And then I want to swipe the dark into the light. So I'm going to have two swipes. So I'll have to kind of think about how I want to do that. Let's just pour some color on and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with this green. I might drizzle this. I wanted to keep this color palette relatively simple without a ton of colors because we're working with two different cell activators. But of course you could make it more colorful if you wanted. So let's see what happens there. Now I'm going to put some of this champagne on here. Just drizzle some of that around. Then I've got the silver. And maybe drizzle some of this around. And then maybe a little bit more of the turquoise on top in a couple areas. There we go. That should be plenty of paint. So I've got some interesting lines. Now let's see about our double swipe. And I want to do this, I don't want to over swipe. I probably want to go for maybe, I'm going to shoot for just two of them, two swipes, three maybe if I have to, but I'm gonna just kind of practice my moving my knife over first, kind of see how I want to do it. I might take my bigger knife and swipe once this way with the light color, and then over here once kind of this way with our dark color. So that sounds good to me. Let's see if we can do it. So first I'm going to put the white on. And you don't need a real thick coat. This is a very thin, pretty thin coat here. And I'll just let it kind of roll down the back of my knife, even itself out. That looks pretty good. It's probably hard to see that. Here it is. So let's give it a shot. So I'm going to start on the end and kind of just move it delicately over these colors. Maybe I'll give it a little spin with spin the spinner a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So some of this thicker stuff will get spun off. So I'm not too worried about that. So far so good. Now for our dark color, I'm going to do the same thing basically with our black and kind of go over this way. Yeah, I got a little bit, oh, there we go. So it's a nice, relatively thin coating on the back of my knife. And let's see here. Let's give it a shot. Okay, not too bad. So we got a lot of cells, which is cool. And I kind of like it. So 2 swipes, I'm going to leave it at that. And let's give it a spin and see what happens. And Donna was recommending or suggesting orange. That might have been cool in there, that orange color. You'll have to give that a try, Donna, and see what you think. So there we go. I like the champagne, what that's doing in there. Let's give it a spin and see what we got. All right, slow her down. And wow, one spin did quite a bit. I really like it. So we've got this interesting, these cool negative spaces, which I like quite a bit. I love the separator line, the barrier line in there. It's very cool. Very cool cells, very interesting cells in here with the white. It did some very cool stuff. That's pretty nice. I might do one more spin. I don't love these small cells here. See if I can move those kind of off the canvas a little bit. But aside from that, we might be done already. So that's one cool thing about these paintings. They go, pretty quickly, which is can be very fun. You can get through a whole bunch of them, which is cool. Let's do one more small spin. Here we go. Okay, I think that did it. We're getting a little bit of weirdness happening, so I don't want to over spin this. I might do a tiny bit of just gentle tilting by hand. But I really like what's happening here. So I don't want to do too much there. I think I'm going to leave it at that. And I quite like this painting. So again, based on how you do your split base, the cell activator colors you use, it's a very cool results. And I love the simple color scheme, but you could take all of the colors we use in our first one, in our first pour, and do something very similar and get this really colorful, bright painting. That would look pretty amazing too. So that is our second demo. I'm going to move this one aside and we'll jump into our third one. So, but this is got a lot of cool cells in there, a lot of variety, which I really love, especially these crazy ones over here. So those are kind of fun. So, okay, I'll be right back. I'm just going to scrape off a little bit of this paint. Got quite a bit on here. And let's do our third pour. This one is going to be a little bit different. I'm also going to spin it out, but the setup will be a little different in this one. Because you're being funny in the chat. All right. Okay, so what are we working with here? So the third one, I've got all these paints open, so I'm going to be using some of all of these different paints. But this third pour, I'm going to try kind of a combination of techniques. So it's going to be kind of I'll put a base coat on, maybe a split base coat, kind of like we did in the last one. But I'm going to be doing some direct pours. I'm going to be layering some of my small cups and doing a little bit of a ribbon pour on there. And then do some kind of smaller swipes, kind of, as the composition dictates. Then we'll spin it out and kind of see what we get. So this is more of a combo of a couple different techniques that we're going to be working with. And maybe I'll definitely put in some of that orange that Carla suggested. I love that color. So let's see, what do I got here? I think I'm going to go back to our light color and use some of this. This is that light violet. Might need a little more. Ooh, might need a little more. I think I'll use this and that dark kind of green for a split base coat. Again, this one going kind of horizontal. Let's see. That looks pretty good. And I think Donna's got a question. I'll answer that in a second here. Just kind of move this around a little. So I'm just trying to make an interesting shape with the split base before we get going. I like to start with something interesting at each stage. Nice to have something interesting, kind of cool looking at every stage, even though it's going to be totally changed by the end. Let me answer Donna's question here. Donna is asking, does the centrifugal force cause the paint to move to the right of the picture when you spin clockwise and pull to the right when you spin counterclockwise? Yeah, it kind of, they both work fairly similarly depending on the direction. So if you're spinning, clockwise, going this way around, the paint will want to kind of, spin off to that side. And then if you spin the other way, it'll spin back that way a little bit. I think the big reason why people go both directions is kind of to recenter and kind of reorient the cells somewhat. If they're starting to get kind of weird going when you're spinning to the right, you can kind of go the counterclockwise and it will kind of get them back closer to the right shape. So you can go either direction that you want to. You don't have to go one or the other. But it's just to kind of even things out is why people go in kind of both directions. But the results are very similar in either the right or the left. That's a great question, though, Donna. So, okay, let's see here. And here's a good comment. If your canvas is centered, it will move evenly. If the canvas isn't centered, depending on which direction, it is off center depending on which way the paint will go. Yeah, so it's always good to center your painting on your spinner. If it's not centered, it'll move in kind of weird directions, which could be kind of cool if that's kind of what you're shooting for. But if you want everything to kind of spin rather evenly from the center out, centered is always desirable. So great comment. All right, so let's go ahead and pour on some colors. I'm just going to grab some and I'm going to just do a little direct pour here. There's some of that light purple. I'm going to put some of the dark purple in here. Maybe I'll drizzle some of the champagne color. Maybe let's go get some of that orange. That looks really awesome in the in our dark base coat. And I like that. So let's give this a little tilt just to move things around, get it looking a little more interesting. And this is a fun way to paint. I really like direct pours a lot. It was looking very cool like that. It's kind of interesting. So I like what's happening here. Let's do a ribbon. Let's layer some paint. Maybe pour a ribbon or two in there. And then we'll do a little more tilting. Then we'll do a little bit of swiping. Then we'll do a little bit of spinning. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So we've got our little cup. I'm loving this orange. So let me put a little of that in there. I'm going to put a little of our dark in there too. Maybe some of the teal. Maybe some of the silver. And what else? Maybe a little of our light violet. Okay, now I'm going to make a little spout. And let's just pour some of this on and just see what we got. I'm going to just go back over what we just did there. To get a few more of those colors coming through. Our orange went away. Let's see. I want some more. I want more of that orange in there. So I'm going to just tilt this a little bit. Kind of move things around. And I want to be careful not to tilt off too much paint because we need to spin this out. So I don't want to lose too much. But let's do another ribbon. I'm just going to use the orange and maybe the silver. And I've got too much of this kind of teal now on here. But that's okay. So let's do another ribbon. The stupid silver took over all the orange. Man. Okay. It's not enough. I need more. Okay, another little small tilt. I'm going to move things up here a little bit. Okay. We could play around with this for a long time, but it's interesting. I kind of like it. So let's going to do some swipes, and then we'll spin it out and kind of see what we end up with. And again, I've got the white and I've got the black. So we can swipe with a couple different colors. So I'm going to start with my smaller knife. I think I'm going to swipe up this way with the black. I think that would look kind of cool. Okay, so there we go. That's a, and I'm going to kind of start diagonally as I swipe this. Kind of carefully move my knife over. Kind of like that. I want to do another one. I want to do a white swipe through here. I think that would look very cool. So this is just we're doing a bunch of different things, but you can kind of use these swipes in other techniques just to add some interest. It doesn't all have to be just about the swipe. You can add other elements to make to your composition and your painting. And the swipe can just be kind of like an accent, kind of some cool detail instead of like the main focus, which can be kind of fun. So that looks pretty good. I think I want a white swipe in here and then maybe one more black swipe, a smaller one, and then we'll tilt it out or spin it out, I mean. Okay. And even this out kind of on my knife. And again, I want to kind of come in at an angle. Kind of picking where I want to put the swipe color. Okay, looks kind of interesting and cool. Let's do one more black one. All right, I kind of want to go next to this white one. Yeah, it's interesting. We kind of dragged some of the white in there, which I think is kind of cool. I like it. So I'm going to call that good for our swipes. And we're going to have some of these other colors will still be around after we spin. But hopefully the swipes will just be kind of like accents to our direct pour. So let me move this on the spinner, just like that. And let's give it a spin. Here we go. Okay, let's see what we got. Ooh, cool. This one kind of is getting spun right off this black swipe, our first one. But I like what's happening up at the top here. And this one is very cool. So we could try to tilt this and kind of bring some of that black at the bottom back into the composition a bit. Let me just try, see if it'll move. Moving a little bit, but not tons. So, okay. I moved it, got a little bit of it, but that moved off more than I had anticipated. So, but I kind of like it. I don't think we really need to do much more if we don't want to. I've got kind of a weird line here. Let me see if I can just do a little manual tilt on that. And just kind of stretching the paint this way will kind of open up some of those cells, which can be kind of cool. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So maybe just one more small, I'll just go the opposite way. So I'll go to the left, kind of gentle. And that'll probably be it for this one. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting, it's kind of a weird painting, but it's kind of interesting. I like a lot of what's happening. I like that we don't have, it's not just one big, explosion of cells everywhere. We've got some more interesting things happening with these small shapes of color. And then the cells are kind of sprinkled in throughout. So that can be an interesting way to kind of add some of the swipes to your other techniques, just to add some interest, add some cool cells, and get kind of kind of your own style going. So I think it turned out pretty interesting. I really like some of the cells. Up here is my favorite, probably. I think this is very pretty. But that's just another example of how you can use this technique with the simple swipe and the simple cell activator to kind of manipulate and add some new interesting things to some of the techniques we've already covered in the previous months, in the previous techniques. So that, I think, is it for our painting night. Those 3 demos. The first 2 I really like a lot. This one's very interesting, but it kind of got weird with all that teal. I kind of regret that ribbon pour, but hey, there's always the next one. So let me flip back here and see if you have any questions. And here let me drop this down. A big weird divider. There we go. Okay. So, Donna sees the purple corner right here. This one. Yeah, that's a nuisance corner. Maybe I'll do another spin after we've left tonight. You always spot the little corners, Donna. I love it. So, well, those are some simple swipe ideas for you. Hopefully it gave you some inspiration and you can try some of these things out and see what you come up with. They're all a lot of fun. The spinner is super fun to use. You could make a very easy kind of barrier if you need to, but it's a whole lot of fun to do the swipes and then spin them out. So I hope you can all give them a try. So any other questions that you might have before we end here with our painting night? And as you're thinking of them, I'm just going to see if there are any questions that came in that I might have missed from earlier. And let's see here. So Pat's excited to try some. Yeah, that's cool, Pat. Yeah, they're a whole lot of fun. So and Donna needs to get her spinner set up and figure out how not to destroy the room with flying paint. So yes, and it doesn't fly everywhere. It normally, my barriers are pretty low. These are about 6 inches high. It normally just hits the bottom. It kind of flies off horizontal. It doesn't go whoosh, like crazy up in the air. It just kind of shoots off horizontally. So you don't need to get a crazy giant barrier. So, and LC is asking, is the cell activator thinner than the paint? Yes, it is. It's quite a bit thinner, actually. So again, that formula, it's on the walkthrough sheet that I created for you, which is inside the members area in the swipe walkthrough video. It's right here, but that formula it's pretty simple. So it's 1 part of the Liquitex ink, which is this stuff right here, like the Liquitex acrylic ink. So 1 part ink, 2 parts water, just any water is fine, and then 3 parts paint. And the paint that works the best is the Amsterdam, the carbon black, or I'm sorry, oxide black, and the titanium white. These 2 colors work the best of all of the different colors you could use. So I would recommend starting there. And kind of once you get the hang of that, then you could explore different colors if you wanted to try out some different colored cell activators. But the cell activator is thinner than the regular paint. So, but just follow that formula and you'll be in good shape. So cool. Great question, Elsie. And Monique says she has her spinner in her puppy pool. And yeah, those work really well. I've got one. It's about a 36-inch round pool. The walls are about so high, maybe 6 to 8 inches high, something like that. And those work really well. And they're not super expensive. They're, I don't know, $25 or something like that. So they're not super expensive. I just don't like getting it out and opening it up. So this works much better for me in my circumstances. But a lot of people use those puppy pool things, and they work really, really well. So great tip, Monique. All right. Oh, I don't see any other questions coming in. So last call for any final questions. And I will see you on Friday for our Friday demo. And I'll probably be doing another simple swipe, and probably be using the spinner again because it's a blast. So, and Carla is asking if we can zoom in. Sure, we can zoom in on this one. Let's see here. So let me flip back. And it looks like a total mess, but yeah, let's zoom in. Whoops. I had a little too far. Let me move this over there. So that is the final demo that we did. Pretty interesting painting. It's kind of a mess in some areas, so I don't love this one. But I love the possibilities that like this type of a combination of techniques can come up with. So the results can be very cool. So you just need to experiment and do some, just have fun and try a bunch of them. So, but yeah, it was a whole lot of fun, this technique. So, all right, everybody. So I will see you Friday for another demo, and have a great rest of the week. And I will see you again very soon. Take care, everyone.